Welcome, listeners, to My Fantasy Wife, the weekly sports meets comedy meets marriage podcast, where a husband and wife discuss sports, fantasy leagues, and their impact on pop culture and relationships, including their own. I'm the wife, comedian Blair Postman. Yay! Hey. My husband, Gary Hames, is out on assignment this week, so I'm joined by my sub-hub, comedian Lou Morgante.
Hi, everybody.
Yay! See how supportive I was there? Also on board is Hot Topics and social media maven, comedian Drew Harrison.
Hello.
And rounding things out, sound engineer, comedian, a man about town, Mr. Louis Bishop.
For discount husbands, look up subhub.com.
To never miss our weekly episodes, extras, and more, subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Go to our website, myfantasywife.com, with links to everything. Find us on Facebook at My Fantasy Wife Podcast, Twitter at My Fant Wife, Instagram at My Fantasy Wife Podcast. Drew, tell us about this week's sponsor.
This week's sponsor is Locals Weekend at Dead Crow Comedy Club. The weekend of July 29th and 30th, see some of the best local comedy talent headline at Dead Crow Comedy Club in downtown Wilmington, North Carolina. Featuring our very own friend of the podcast, Mr. Lou Morgante, Friday, July 29th at 9:30 p.m. Get tickets for his show as well as shows featuring Mike Santos, Matt White, and Nuthouse Improv at deadcrowcomedy.com. That's deadcrowcomedy.com.
All right, very nice, exciting, yay! Lou, we're excited to have you here the week before we actually made Gary, sorry, I'd like to hear that little last bit. We made Gary just stay at home just so we could help plug your show by having you here on the air. Wasn't that nice?
Oh, yeah, I probably need it. Please buy tickets.
Yes, thank you for being my sub-hub. In case you couldn't tell.
I'm glad to do some of the husbandry work.
Well... All right. Well, he almost cut his finger off, like trimming hedges. That's not a metaphor last week. So he probably could use some help.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Why did you feel super guilty to tell us that wasn't?
I've got 10 fingers to go.
Never. All right. Well, that's wonderful. Hey.
That's not the first time Blair's heard that.
Yes, exactly. So Drew, Lou, and Lou. Oh, that's cute. It's cute.
It's all rhyming.
It's rhymes. Except there's a big difference. You guys used to all have beards. And now
someone
Mr.
betrayed
Bishop,
the covenant.
isn't that like a jinxie kind of thing? Like you're not supposed to like shave your beard before a playoff game or maybe not before a big show or something? I don't know.
I mean, he technically still has a beard. He's married to her.
Oh, right.
So
Sarah.
Think,
her name is his beard's name is Sarah. Okay.
Right. So
right.
I think 2 beards was too much for Bishop.
All right.
So
well, fair enough.
He had to get rid of 1 beard.
Fair enough. Hi, Mr. Bishop.
Hello.
That's the type of comedy you can expect on Friday night at 9:30 in the Dead Crow Comedy Room.
Bring it down okay, yeah. All right, guys. Well, let me just say that because we got lots to do today. We have upcoming guests today, comedians and husband and wife, Mary Mack and Tim Harmston. So we'll give them a little round of applause. Yay! Fun, super fun. And we have next week Sumac Tolgakar, and then August 7th is Nick Vatterott, and August 14th is comedian and underground wrestling fan Emmett Montgomery, and lots of other fun stuff we'll be announcing in the next week or two coming up in August, September, October. So we're excited. We're on a roll. Here's hoping it goes well. Although now that Bishop has shaved his beard, I'm not feeling that optimistic about it.
The curse.
The curse.
A curse. All right, guys.
The bearded curse.
The bearded. Yeah. Okay.
What do you think? What do you think of my beardless face, Blair?
I think that you look like you should have a ginormous lollipop, like one of those big lollipops, like novelty-sized lollipops.
Okay.
Because you have a baby face under there. It turns out. I mean, I used to find you terrifying to look at.
My wife said that I am less intimidating.
Right.
Terrifying.
And unless that's not a compliment, in which case you are very terrifying still also.
Well, his tough guy days are behind him, so.
Well.
Yes.
Isn't that right, tough guy?
Yeah, I'll just go home.
Yeah.
You look like the guy. There was a Bugs.
It looks. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
There's a Bugs Bunny cartoon where Bugs and hides out with the criminals, and there's a little criminal. Like he's
Yes, babyface Finster.
But then there's the big guy. You look like the big guy that's like, okay, I got him.
Babyface Finster. We don't even have to fact check that.
Yeah,
it's
you know
played
that
a big part in my life.
No, I saw how.
But it looks very handsome. But you do. You look like a clean-cut guy on the go. Professional guy making things happen here in Wilmington, North Carolina. Do you like it?
I like it. It's all right.
Does it feel weird when the wind blows?
It does feel weird. It feels like my face, like right now,
Yeah?
is like just pulsating heat out.
Really?
Yeah. Like I think I could probably, just from the heat from my face
Right.
that was once insulated by the beard,
Right.
I think
okay.
I could cook a potato. Bring it in here.
It's escaping. It's escaping from your
All right,
face.
so they have a potato, and we're putting it on Bishop's face, and
right.
I will attempt to eat it at the end of the show. So
Okay.
we'll find out if I can eat this potato
And
off of Bishop's face.
as far as you all know, because this is non-video in any way, it will happen. Okay, guys, you ready for a little fact checking?
Sure, let's fact check.
And we got a jam-packed agenda here today, so I'm gonna move on to a little fact checking. This is the part of the podcast where we correct the mistakes we made last week to make room for the mistakes we are going to make this week. And really, the big one, the one that I noted last week is that when Rory Scovel was on, he was talking about how he didn't grow up with a lot of pro sports teams near him, where he grew up in around Greenville, South Carolina, Spartanburg. And then he said something quickly like, except for hockey. He said South Carolina didn't have any pro teams except for hockey. And I don't remember a South Carolina hockey team. Do y'all?
No.
Okay, so he was just wrong, right?
Yeah.
Because the Hurricanes, even like he wasn't. Those are in Raleigh, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where we like to give South Carolina our sports teams when they're located here, and everyone knows that it's a North Carolina team.
They're still the Carolina Hurricanes,
but they
not
say,
the North Carolina.
but they say, like, oh, you guys are a part of it too.
But they're all located in
North Carolina,
and like way like not even on the border.
No.
Like if it was the Wilmington, like the current, then it's you can get there from South Carolina.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
It's we're
Charlotte,
45 minutes away. but-
Charlotte's
It's close enough.
Close enough. Rock Hill.
That's as close as we'd like South Carolina to get.
Right.
There.
I don't
is
know.
Charlotte.
We're like I don't know. We might be the Carolina that's losing now. Between the two Carolinas, it's gotten a little darker.
It's still South Carolina though.
All right. It's not gonna.
That's North Carolina's motto. At least we're not South Carolina.
Right.
Thank you. That was perfect.
Which
Thank you.
bathrooms can we use in South Carolina?
All of them.
the smoking ones.
Oh, okay,
All
just
right.
checking.
Oh, nice. Oh, yes. There is smoking in restaurants still, in sections of restaurants in South Carolina. Forgot about that.
Well, they just got free pour a few years ago, so where you can actually pour. You used to have to get
Yes, the little
liquor
airline
bottles,
bottles, right? Yes.
Now they can free pour.
But you get more if you do
See?
that. It's like a shot and a half in a mini bottle.
Yeah, but if you get a really clumsy bartender in North Carolina, they're going to pour a lot more than just a shot, a shot and a half.
Oh wait, what is that I hear? Is that the change? Is that the change music? Oh, yes it is, guys. That's the we're going.
Lou, we should have warned you. She never lets us have any fun.
We yes. Oh, this is not about fun. This is about accomplishing goals. Obviously,
She's very strict.
obviously, guys. It's we're gonna do a little hot topics. We do have a lot of like stuff to get in this week because a lot's going on. So we're gonna do a little hot topics here. And you guys tell me which of these things you want to get most into. Baseball Hall of Fame induction is this weekend.
It just happened.
And
Like
you're probably our biggest baseball fan here today, Drew, since
Yeah.
Gary's on assignment. But Mike Piazza and Ken Griffey Jr. were the two inductees.
Good.
And which apparently, by all accounts, they're fantastic. And Ken Griffey Jr. got 99.32% of the votes,
because he's fantastic.
with the highest percentage ever.
Yeah.
And yet, it seems as a kind of a small class, and a lot
They've
of
been
people.
getting smaller and smaller.
Right, and in large part, I believe that's due to the what we'll call the steroids era. So, who are some of the people that got left out essentially because of steroids?
Well-
And do we want this to continue forever?
I want it to continue because, I mean, it just, like, you still got Mark McGuire, Roger Clemens, Sammy Sosa, Barry
Right.
Bonds, like, those guys, they're Rafael Palmeiro, like,
Who got caught during their career?
Most of those guys.
No, during
their career. Oh no, this was afterwards.
So I just said, who gives a shit?
Did Clemens get caught? I think
no.
Clemens got caught.
No, I don't.
I think
no,
it was after his
it
career.
was
Okay.
afterwards.
Okay.
There was a.
I think he retired by
He
the time.
testified before Congress, and there was a whole thing. Like,
Yeah,
because
see, they
he
lied.
was
They
accused
lied about
of lying before Congress.
Yeah, but I don't. All right,
They
so,
lied to Congress.
Okay, so here's the thing. How long have athletes been juicing and doing all that?
Well, I mean, I understand because I wanted to play baseball growing up, so I understand that. Like,
So you
if
juiced.
someone
Did
no,
you use the juice?
no, I did not.
Were you
but
angry
that's
that
only-
you didn't get the opportunity to use
Right,
the juice?
because that's only because I didn't make it far in baseball. Like,
Right.
if some guy would have come to me in Double-A at 19 years old and been like, "This is how you make it to the majors."
You were in
I
Double A?
can't- No, I'm saying I never made it. That Of course not. I wouldn't. I'd still be living off that minor league baseball
You gotta
money.
get the
Drew
Double
is
A
in Double A,
first.
but he's not allowed to talk about it.
Right, exactly. So
It's anonymous, Blue. It's
I know.
anonymous.
Right, exactly.
That was my joke.
That's a different Double
I
A,
know.
but I like it. I like the illusion. We're gonna work on that metaphor because I enjoy it very much. So, I mean, how many people are in the Hall of Fame now? I guess is the point. Who were on steroids, who didn't get caught up in that particular era, and it's not an issue for them.
I don't know how many have made it in that have juiced. You know, I'm sure plenty. You know, but steroids was big in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
The
was
scandal
also-
came out while all those guys were becoming eligible
And the
for the Hall of Fame.
aughts.
So is it just pro sports though?
What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, if you look at the Olympics have been, there's been scandals all
Well-
sorts
Oh, yeah,
for many years.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, there was the whole Russian team for years, and
And we'll bring up I have that later, but also announced today. We can kind of.
I'm sorry, I
Follow the list,
I
Lou.
didn't go to page 2.
Follow
of
No, I'm
the
sa-
list, Lou.
I understand my role. I will sit here.
Did you get the discount SubHub
I
this
forgot.
week, Blair?
I forgot I'm Gary.
No. Go, Gary wouldn't take any of this bullshit from me. That's why you're here. No, you're much nicer. No, I was just saying we can tie these together because just announced a couple hours before we're taping here, the IOC announced that they were not uniformly barring all Russian athletes from the Olympics in Rio due to various doping scandals, that they were somehow going to take it piece by piece. So I just said, I'm just thinking we could tie this conversation together.
And
about it.
you would have seen that if you would have turned to your table of contents.
Listeners, I do a thorough job. When we prepare
Table-
the podcast. Sure, it doesn't seem that way. Sure, it seems like a shit show, but it's not. It's all on the paper.
And Exhibit
it's all on
A.
the paper. No, but so seriously, with steroids, whether it's the Olympics or whether it's baseball, are we just going to
But
how do we know?
I agree with Lou, though, because it wasn't illegal when they played.
Right.
So on the flip side of that, how can you hold them accountable for something that wasn't illegal when they played?
Well,
the
it was
game?
illegal, right? It
It was banned by the team.
Well,
by the league.
Well,
was
that's the
illegal
thing.
by
No,
the government, right?
The ones that they were testing for, they never got caught while
Right.
most of them were in the field.
They
So-
weren't necessarily on the banned substance
so,
list.
So yes, they changed. You can't. So that's if you go back. I mean, if you go back far enough, I'm sure some of the substances most athletes have used at some point are now on the ban list. Do you go back and retroactively take away all the records?
Well, and that's my question. I mean, because we're going to have a lot of thin years, and if you look, and there were some lists this week talking about who the top 10 players or 100 players on ESPN might have been, and so forth. And, they still, a lot of these people are still ranking Barry Bonds in the top 10 or top 20. And people who, are not going to get into the Hall of Fame for as long as Sammy Sosa, I looked at the list. You have to have, if you get less than,
I love this song.
I do too. If you get less than 5% of the vote,
You're off the ballot.
you're off it forever. Sammy Sosa this time around only got 7%. And I
he's
remember
getting
that
close,
whole
huh?
Sosa
But
McGuire.
they made baseball
race.
fun again.
I know that whole McGuire.
They
Sosa
dug baseball
race.
out of a terrible time. Like after the strike
Right.
and everything, they made people watch baseball.
I know,
again.
and so they're on Bonds in particular is on people's list of one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And so now we're just going to say, I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just asking, are we saying he's out forever?
No, I'm just torn between it because I can see the argument for both sides.
So so what's the difference if they came clean now? If they said yes, while I played, I did this substance. What's their length of ban before they can come back and say I've done it, I've done my time off.
Yeah.
Can I come back?
That's a very good question.
Anything else you can do your time for, and you can come out and you could still,
Well, except Pete Rose.
Right.
Except for Pete Rose, who did probably the least harmful thing.
Right. So where do you rank how harshly they're treating Pete Rose with gambling on baseball with taking steroids?
I think all sports right now, not only professional, I think Olympic sports, and
college sports is so much bullshit goes on there.
It just needs to be fixed. Because what you're doing is you're literally taking these kids.
Fixed like Pete Rose fixed it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, you're taking.
There's no evidence that Pete Rose ever was smart enough to actually fix a game.
He just liked to gamble.
He just loved to gamble.
It's just like you get these kids that come from a place with no money,
and
young
young women,
and then you show them that these sports can get them somewhere, and then they use their bodies and everything, and then they just abuse them and just drop them off
away. Yeah.
And then everything they do, they've never there's no routine. It is just broken. It is all a money grab, and they're taking the lives of young people and destroying them. And then at the end of the day, they're just going, oh, all that hard work you did and made all those white people money? Screw you. You get nothing.
Well, that's my whole problem with the NCAA. And it's this. They can take these kids' names and put them on the back of a Carolina jersey or a Duke jersey and sell their name, and the kid can't have cab fare to the booster rally or wherever he's supposed to go to. And I'm not saying they don't have advantages. I mean, sometimes I wonder why they even make them matriculate.
They can sell their likeness. They can't sell their name. Like, they can't have the name on the jerseys.
They can sell their likeness.
They can sell their likeness and their number.
They try doing that with any pro athlete without a really extensive contract and a lot of money. But they can sell their likeness, and they can put them through all their paces, and they can make money off of all the tickets and everything else that they sell. And then most of them, they're never going to make it in the big leagues. And they probably didn't get a very good education either.
So they even do it with high school jerseys now, right? Because Michael Jordan's jersey, high school jersey,
right, and LeBron James' jersey.
And the thing is, like, the high school gets a small bit of money to use that likeness of their jersey and sell it for millions of dollars. And it's sad.
Anyway, I'm not a fan.
So at the end of the day, Lou, do you think the steroid users should be allowed in the Hall of Fame?
At this point, if they're not caught during their career doing whatever, and they've did whatever, let them go.
Whatever. What about you, Mr. Bishop? I mean, you're usually pretty libertarian about these things. I would think that you would let them kind of just do whatever. I think you would be like Running Man, just do whatever it takes.
Yeah, I mean,
and you let them do whatever.
But how come the teams don't? Go ahead, Bishop. I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're very fiery.
I am, because why? Because are the coaches fired for?
No.
What about the trainers? What about the owners of those teams? How come it's just that athlete that I mean, yes.
And the guy that supplied the steroids.
The guy that supplied, why aren't they going after everything? It's the team. All their wins and losses should be forfeited. All the championship, all the money. You know what?
Yeah,
who should
that's
get
a good point.
How about the fans that show up and then pay them all the money back? If that's where you're going to do it, let the fans get their money back. Then if it's so legit and you're so caring about these.
Well, they kind of do that in college football, at least I know. Like for example,
the death penalty when they give it to like a football team. You mean?
No, yeah, like
they take away their.
Yeah, like what was it? USC,
Reggie Bush,
SMU.
Yeah, they took away all those wins that they had.
We're talking about the death penalty. SMU's the only school that's got the death
penalty.
I
guess I'm thinking like they go back retroactively in the NCAA. They will go back and take. They took the Heisman. They will take a championship away.
But they don't take any money away. They don't hit them where they hurt.
Yeah, but that's near impossible to do.
No, what they do is they take away scholarships for kids, and now kids.
Yeah, they hurt the teams that are current, not the ones that did the offense.
All right.
But there's no way to hurt the team that did the offense. Like, what are they going to do?
No, you're right.
I think the coaches should be fired right on spot. Any of the athletic directors fired on spot. And then that's it. And then they have to rebuild their football program or their other program from scratch and things like that. And then that school then suffers because they didn't do it. Like everybody's got to suffer. They didn't really. I mean, even the Reggie Bush stuff. What happened to Reggie Bush?
He had to get back his Heisman.
Okay.
And they took away those championships.
Okay.
Kim Kardashian broke up with. Oh wait, no, he broke up with her. Never mind. Okay.
So I don't.
That might have been a win.
I'm saying at least it made him get his life together.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe it's been. But all
I
right.
mean, he did have to play for the Detroit Lions. I guess that is punishment enough.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna move on to a little bit a different combo topic here. We got a couple of interesting sort of civil rights, I'll call it, issues coming up in the WNBA and the NBA. The WNBA, a lot of the players had been fined for sort of pretty low-key, I thought, Black Lives Matters protests. I'm quoting here. On social media and post-game interviews, players were showing their solidarity after the league fined the Indiana Fever, the New York Liberty, and the Phoenix Mercury players $500 each this week for wearing plain black warm-up shirts that violated the league's policy, uniform policy. Each team was also fined $5,000, and the commissioner Borders said, we're not trying to stop them from expressing themselves, even though it was the correct brand, Adidas. It was, they essentially weren't allowed to protest in that way. Now, since just also announces pretty a lot of sports news breaking on a Sunday in the middle of July. But it just announced that they have actually rescinded all of those fines. And I think they're just figure they're all going on Olympic break, and they're going to have 5 or 6 weeks without any games, and they just kind of hope they're going to close their eyes and ears and hope they don't have to do anything after that. And then the same weekend, on Friday, I believe it was, the NBA officially moved to take the All-Star game out of North Carolina because of, some people think it's just because of this transgender use of bathrooms, and that's part of it. But it was also in that bill that was passed, HB2 in North Carolina. It forbid any municipality or county from passing rights protections for gay and lesbian people in general, and the state doesn't have any. So if somebody who was with the organization got into went into a restaurant in Charlotte, for example, and they were gay, that restaurant could refuse to serve them, and there would be no civil rights claims. So those are two kind of pretty big civil rights things having to do with basketball coming up. Any thoughts on those guys? Or, hey, I mean, are we happy that some of these players are kind of and officials are standing up and making some noise, or is it none of their damn business?
I mean, Lou was just talking about it. Hit them where it hurts. Hit them in the money.
Yeah.
And Charlotte's going to lose a lot of money.
Oh yeah. I mean, they've lost a lot.
I think it was $100 million.
Yeah.
That they were projecting that would bring to the city of Charlotte and to the state of North Carolina. So, I mean, I don't know how much money North Carolina's got, but
it's not rolling in it.
I mean,
and they also
$100 million bucks is sounds pretty good to me.
On top of
for a weekend, right? That's
for
a weekend. Well, for a
weekend.
week, we'll say a week. We'll give them a whole week.
You know what? A whole week.
We'll give you 7 days to come up with $100 million.
Plus, PayPal's not expanding here. Other things are. And McCrory went on TV or radio rather, and it was out on social media saying like, "How dare they tell us how to." Our political stance. They're punishing us for a political stance. It's like, look, you have every right to take your political stance. And then in this free economy, they have the right to say, we don't like that political stance. We're going to do business elsewhere that we think is good for our business. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Mr. Morgante?
I know. I mean, I think it's great that people are standing up for quote unquote bullshit laws. It is. They're bullshit. And then you look at it overall, and the way the rights that are, the things that are also written in there. I mean, a lot of people, like you were saying, they focus on a lot of the bathroom issues, right? Because that's your hot button issue.
That was the thing they used to scare a lot of
Yes.
people who weren't super educated about what else was in there.
That's your good soundbite. That's a great way to get people to be a yay or nay on it, right? Because people don't understand that. But when you're talking about somebody that gets fired from their job because they're
gay,
they've been or even if they've been in their job, okay, so they're long term in that job, okay, so someone's there for 25 years, they have 5 years to retire, and they look at that guy's salary and they just go, we can get rid of him and hire these other two, and if you look at it, if the guy performs, does his job, has no reason to be terminated at that point, he could terminate. Now he can sue if he found out it was because of his age. if he knew he had 5 years to retire, and basically he's just biding his time at that point, doing his job, not doing anything. But he used to be able to sue for that. That was called age discrimination. Now you can't. You can no longer do that, thanks to that bill. So those are problems that's an everyday person problem.
There are certain civil categories that you can sue under in North Carolina, and others you cannot based on that. And being gay is one of them. And age, it's basically only for, I think, physical disability, race, and sex, I think, are the only ones that it permits, and religion perhaps. So
you can't handle the truth.
That's right. You tell it, all Lewises and Drewises. And the other side of this is the Black Lives Matter protests, which I thought, from what I saw and read, were pretty tame for the WNBA. They were simply they even had the forethought to say, hey, if we're going to wear these black plain T-shirts, let's at least use the brand used by the WNBA. So they went out and got the Adidas T-shirts, and then they fined each of these women $500 when the normal, that's heaven saying, yes, I approve of what you're saying right now.
Actually, that was Daily Burn. You have a kettlebell workout in your email.
Oh, I do. Okay. Well, that's kind of sports related. I wonder if I should do that later. Probably won't. I mean, let's be honest.
I wouldn't even know what to do.
A kettlebell?
I'm going to be doing something with a kettle.
It's at the Brewer's Kettle after this, guys.
That's
Open
it.
mic. But when you go... Soon all the technology is going to work great, and we're going to get it all together. But the... sorry about that, guys. But the Black Lives Matter protests, they fined them 2.5 times what the typical fine would be. So they came down on them proportionately hard, and then they took it all away because they got nervous and they didn't like the optics of it. But they didn't really say what the plan was. They just are... It seems like the WNBA is saying... We got nervous because people seem to be pushing back, and we fine them more than they would normally be fined for this, so we're kind of over punishing them. And at the same time, now we're kind of nervous about it, and we're going to just hope that in the next month when everybody goes to the Olympics, they'll just kind of forget about this and hope it doesn't ever happen again.
It's amazing to me is that...
The WNBA is still going? Yes.
Well, well, just look, most major...
Well, the fines here were $500 a person, not $50,000. So you can talk about the pay disparity.
That probably
as
still
well.
hurt them a little bit.
No, it did. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the sort of scary thing.
But if you're probably looking at the fan base of the WNBA, and you're looking at the NBA, and you look at the NFL, and like you know there is a high percentage of African Americans that are actually watching these athletes, and these are issues that impact not only the athletes but the people who are watching these sports, who are paying the money to be in the seats and making sure they're watching the NBC commercials when they're on NBC and all that stuff. It's important to have these social issues out there. I mean, these are those people. These are the people that are...
That's their audience.
Yes, they need to know that there's somebody out there that's also feeling that. And if they wore the... I mean... If it's the approved company apparel, like, I mean, if it's just, I don't know. I mean, and I'm glad they backed off of that and stuff. But I think, honestly, if these sports did care, if these companies did care, they would get behind it and they would help, and not necessarily make it something where it has to be the players getting out there and making their own.
Like, why can't Adidas give them a Black Lives Matter shirt
and
that
it
they
should,
can wear?
because it's
the German company Adidas.
Yeah. Why not?
I don't know. I guess they could. It's just interesting to me too. What if it's the NFL? Or is the NFL pushing? They don't have an all-star game, but is the NFL pulling, for example, a Super Bowl out of Charlotte because of the HB2 or any civil rights matters?
Charlotte's expanding right now in hopes of landing a Super Bowl.
Okay,
one day.
but
they're building hotels at a rapid rate.
I guess I'm saying basketball is one thing, but are these other leagues really in line, or is it different for some reason? Because I don't know. I don't have a fact or a reason why I feel this way, except that Roger Goodell seems a lot less progressive than Silver.
But it almost makes him do it now.
But that's what I'm like. If there's an issue like this and it comes up related to the NFL, is Roger Goodell changing something?
I think he has to. I think this
set
the precedent.
I don't think he thinks he has to do anything.
I think this sets a precedent for it.
I think you almost get forced your hand at that point, because if you look at when you look through sports and you look at the integration of sports and as athletes coming up of color and getting involved in that, and then the coaching and the Rooney Rule and all these things that they have to get on board, because this is a good chunk of the country.
I would like to point out that I know what the Rooney Rule is. It's about you have to interview African American coaching, and they were talking about this week how that's not going so great either. But all right, guys.
Well, I think that to help the point also is that the NFL, if it ever come up, they would have to do it, because there's a difference. I understand what you're saying, that you don't think Goodell budges. There's a difference between making money and protecting what's making you the money, right? So
right. If his players don't play for him,
right? But
he's not protecting their brains.
But
he's trying.
But that's the part of the sport, like that is part of the sport. And sure, they can make it safer, but it'll take time. But you take away the opportunity to make money, well, they'll figure that out real quick. Like the brain issue is a major issue, but it's not a major issue to them because
they're not protesting games because of
right.
it.
People aren't saying, I'm not going to watch the NFL or go to games or buy jerseys if they don't do this.
Do you think, though, I guess what I'm saying is, do you think that the NFL's constituency, if the NFL was going to play, the Pro Bowl in Charlotte,
sure,
and they would
the
be
Super Bowl, that they would protest because of North Carolina's HB2 anti-gay, anti-trans, etc. bill.
I think he's got enough people in his ear that would be like, "Hey, the NBA did it. If you don't, you look like a bigger asshole."
I don't even think it gets to that point. I think that the NFL is so calculated that's why they're such a huge sport. Also, we love violence, but that is such a huge sport.
I know I do.
Right, but that it'll never get to that point as long as that rule's there. They're not going to risk. There's so much that goes into planning, and I'm not saying there's not a lot that goes into planning a NBA All-Star game or anything like that. But the Super Bowl is the most highest rated thing on TV.
Right.
They and
until we televise the My Fantasy Wife podcast,
right?
Simulcast. Yes,
right.
Exactly.
But that's the biggest thing. So they're not going to mess with those sponsors. They're not going to do this or that. They're not going to mess up their money to give a chance. The NFL will never, which I don't think that they would ever. Well, they did play the Super Bowl in
New Jersey.
New Jersey a few years ago.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility, but they're not even going to. It's not even going to be an option as long as there's something that could harm the money.
Right. They're just going to stay a million miles away from it.
They're going to stay a million miles away. They'll keep it in Arizona and in South Florida and Texas and all these other places, and San Diego,
places where it's fun to go.
Right.
Okay. Not that Charlotte's very nice, but it's not exactly like a party town.
Well, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like if it's a party town or not, they're not going to take it anywhere to harm their money. You know? Like they're not going to go play the Super Bowl in East Berlin. They're gonna,
that would be
right.
We'd have to go back in time,
right.
But it would. Yes, I mean they're going to protect their money. And
they want to get the most money possible.
All right. I guess my point was just more. I don't think they would have been the first people to pull out of North Carolina. Now maybe you're right, Drew. They have to now, but I don't think they would have bothered. I don't know. That's just an opinion based on thoughts. All right, guys. Well, you know what? We're gonna have to table a little bit because we gotta get moving with the rest of the show and our exciting guests. But maybe next week. I did watch the resurrection of Jake the Snake.
Good, that'll give me another week to watch.
All right. Well, we'll sort of tease it for next week. But the resurrection of Jake the Snake, where hold on, I learned his name. Is it Diamond Dallas Page?
There you go.
Yay! I learned he helped another man whose name, I don't think it was his real name, but his name was Jake the Snake.
That is his real name.
No, it's not, but it's not his real name.
The Snake is the last name.
Oh, is it the Snake,
The
like
Snake.
Da Vinci?
Yes.
Okay. So he helped him get over drugs and alcohol and lose weight and do yoga, and they do yoga in it.
Yeah.
The man who's
He's making a lot of money off of that yoga.
DDP does yoga, and I recognize some stuff. And so for the first time ever on the podcast, we might have a reason to talk about yoga. So aren't you guys excited about that?
Yeah.
Maybe we could all do some of the DDP yoga before next week.
I like the part of yoga where you fall asleep in class.
Well, you know what? That's part of every class, and it's outstanding. I did it today. It's one of the best. Any workout regimen that involves a 10-minute nap at the end is pretty okay with me. All right, guys. Well, what do you think, Mr. Bishop?
I enjoyed how much Jake the Snake cried in that.
There was a lot of man tears.
Right.
There was a
Wait a
lot
minute,
of
Jake the Snake cries in it.
like all the time.
Yeah, one
I
great
can't.
part. He was like, "I'm so mad that Drew Harrison never got into Double-A baseball."
So he headlines comedy clubs now,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Well, they do have a show at
Along with Pam Anderson.
in
No, he does. Yeah, go ahead.
there's a show at the Atlanta Punchline. They're doing a show like live at the Punchline in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's like a spoken word kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But
there's touring comedy clubs all around the country.
Yep.
What are you making that noise for, Drew?
I don't want to see that.
Well, maybe you can start touring wrestling exhibitions.
No, thank you.
All right. Well, if you're going to keep a closed mind about it,
Well,
you're
very
not going to
much so.
advance your career very much.
Yeah,
All
I like
right.
wrestling on my terms.
All right. So, what do you think here, Mr. Bishop? You think we can call Ms. Mary Mack? And that was exciting.
You remember what you have to do, right?
Yeah, we have to hover.
Hello.
Hello. Is this Tim Harmston and Mary Mack?
It is.
Hi. You're on the line with my Fantasy Wife podcast. How are you?
Okay, hi Blair. I'm gonna plug his phone in now. And if we set the phone down, can you tell us if we sound equal?
Well,
Like
equal
not-
in what way? I mean, that's a tricky kind of social
I know.
question.
It is. Okay, Tim, you say something, and then I'll say something.
I'm for Donald Trump.
Oh. Now, Mary,
say
you,
I'm for Hillary Clinton, and we'll be equal.
Mary,
No,
you,
can you? That's the same, Blair.
um,
'Cause,
you sound cuter, but other than that, I'd say you sound pretty equal. Hey,
okay, great.
let me do your little introduction to the audience, and then we'll tell you who's in the room. Audience, Mary Mack is a favorite on radio shows and podcasts around the country. So we're not her first. It's a little disappointing to learn that. Apparently, she has been on some little podcast called Mark Maron's WTF. And she is also heard in the cult favorite Aqua Teen Hunger Force on Cartoon Network's Adult Swim, and had her national TV debut on Comedy Central's Live at Gotham and NBC's Last Comic Standing. And Tim Harmston, her husband, has performed comedy on CBS's Late Show with David Letterman, Comedy Central's Live at Gotham, The Bob and Tom Radio Show, and Last Comic Standing. He's also performed at Rooftop Aspen Comedy Festival and Laughing Skull Comedy Festival. Let's give him a big round of applause, everybody in the studio.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was so professional.
Well, we're pretty classy here at the My Fantasy Wife podcast. Now, I'm going to introduce who's in the room because we had a little change-up. My husband and sports stat expert got called out on assignment, unfortunately, and isn't here. That means they had a really big work meeting he couldn't get out of. But we have here, you may remember, what I'm calling my sub-hub, and I'm pretty in love with that term, by the way. My sub-hub is comedian Lou Morgante.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, what's your name one more time? It's a little blurry.
Lou Morgante.
Oh, Lou, I met you down in Wilmington.
Yep.
And then
Hello.
also we have comedian Drew Harrison.
Hey,
Hey, Drew.
how are you?
Good.
Hi, Drew. Are you really a pet nurse?
I am.
Our dog ate a cob of corn, and we heard it might have to get surgery now. Is that true?
I'm gonna need you to hold those vet kind of questions until after the show. We don't have a lot of time.
Sorry,
And,
Blair.
it's a shame after how professional your intro was that you had to go make it personal like that. But we'll try to let it go. And then rounding things out, as always, is our sound engineer, comedian Louis Bishop.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Louie.
Hey, Louise.
Hey, what was your dog question? I'll answer your dog question.
You will not answer her dog question.
But
No, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, what do you recommend? Bring them to the vet tomorrow?
I would recommend this, and this is Lewis Bishop talking. Get another dog. That's what I would recommend.
Oh, no. We just got this one.
Is there a return on the receipt? Can you return it in a certain time?
No.
He was adopted.
What? Tell us again. Okay, because now I'm going to get a bad rap. So tell us again. Tell us again what is wrong with the dog, and we will have Drew listen very carefully.
Well, we were eating lunch, and we said, "Oh, this cob of corn looks like it'd be fun for the dog to chew on."
Cob of corn.
And then we let him have it, and then I said, "Hey, I should look up on the internet if dogs can have corn cobs." And then it said on the internet that your dog's gonna need surgery now.
I mean, if it gets stuck, like you can play the waiting game right now for sure.
Just see if anything comes out. If anything comes out the other end, you're good to go.
Oh,
good.
great.
As long as there's no vomiting and diarrhea, you are in the clear.
Oh, thank you so much.
No
All
problem.
right.
Well,
If he looks at you with that painful look, he's trying to pass it. Just go ahead and give you fair warning on that one.
okay, great, thanks.
All right, we're going to change the call-in part of the podcast next week to just like Nurse Drew.
Ask a pet
Vet
nurse.
Tech. That might be more popular. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Good, thank you.
We got a couple of crazy stuff that we can talk about, and I'm gonna have Mr. Bishop tell me, by the way, if we're losing any sound or if there's any technical stuff going on, because we got a lot of moving parts here with you guys too on that end and all of us and our shenanigans. But I thought we would start with something pretty straightforward. Mr. Harmson, I understand that you are a little bit sort of a fly-by-night Packers fan. Is that correct?
Fly by night.
You can
What are
kind of take them or leave them?
No, I'm a. This was an attack right off the bat. I'm not comfortable with this.
Him pees yellow and green.
I pee yellow, and that just goes to show you. No, I'm a big Packer fan, and I was raised in Wisconsin, and that's where my allegiance it lies. And my wife is sort of she's also raised in Wisconsin, but she will go to bed wearing a Minnesota Vikings hoodie and a Packers pajamas, flannel pajama bottoms, and so that causes some discord in the
Oh, wow.
in the universe. Yeah.
Well, I think the thing you need is, if you're peeing yellow, is less Mountain Dew or more water. Those are my suggestions.
Well, that's in Wisconsin, so. So now, Tim, do you have any predictions for your year? And we won't hold you to any of these, but do you have any predictions?
Okay.
Or and Drew and Lewis, if you have any thoughts about the Packers coming up this year, chime in. But let us know how you think your guys are going to do.
Okay, well, this year the Packers are going 13-3, and they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Does that sound right to you, Drew?
I mean, I'll give him the 13-3, but he's not getting past the Panthers in the NFC. So
Oh.
I smell a huge letdown for the Panthers.
like the smell of a wet cat.
Yeah.
I just smell a repeat trip to the Super Bowl.
Oh, boy.
And a repeat
Now-
sad
But I like Aaron Rodgers, so I don't mind the Packers. If they win, then kudos to them.
You don't mind the Packers? God, what a backhand. You call us up at our home and put those kind of sentences into the phone receiver?
I mean, if I gun to my head, they're okay, I guess.
Oh, God, yet another horrible compliment.
Well, that's a lot. It's a lot better than what he usually says to Gary about the Cowboys. So I'm going to say he's actually on pretty good behavior for himself today.
Yeah, that's as good as it gets.
That's as good as it gets. So, but do you really think, Tim? I mean, Aaron Rodgers, a perennial favorite. You think they're going to Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, I do because last year they limped into the playoffs.
Yeah.
They lost the division, but they were playing for the division. They were playing for their division the last game of the year, Week 17, they did lose to the Vikings, but they also went into the playoff in the wild card, and they advanced to the divisional round, the second round of the playoffs, and that was as bad as they played. They had Eddie Lacy, who weighed over 500 pounds. A lot of people don't realize that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had to sew 3 uniforms together to put him in a uniform. And
it was actually the flag, the Green Bay flag outside of the stadium. They sewed it together for him.
Wow.
They had,
It's not good.
So,
It's not good.
So they got Eddie Lacy coming back. He's going to weigh 240 totally ripped P90X pounds.
Okay.
And then you've got healthy Jordy Nelson coming back. You've got Aaron Rodgers on a mission to win another Super Bowl. And the defense was improved. I think 4 of our top 6 draft picks were on the defensive side of the ball. So I think we're looking at a much improved Packer team. And I think that I don't see the Bears, the Lions, posing that much threat. I think the biggest threat, obviously, is the Minnesota Vikings, who are always getting better on defense. So,
is Tim hogging the speaker, or do we still sound equal?
You still sound separate but equal.
Okay.
Which actually is not good.
No.
Go ahead.
I wanted to say I enjoy the Packers very much, but I'm very excited to see the Vikings this year in hopes that kid they recruited from Germany will be playing, because I nicknamed him the Happy Terminator.
Oh.
And I'm really hoping that my nickname catches on so that I'll have coined an NFL nickname.
Sure, you can
I
write.
don't know how to
You can write
make
that to
money.
the top.
I'm thinking I can.
Yeah. I would say that's more in line with how I root for teams. I feel obligated. Gary's not here, but he always likes to inject something about the Cowboys and how they're going to do something. So blah, 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 Cowboys, blah, 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 Tony Romo, blah, 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 Super Bowl. So, okay. So I did it.
No. How about their number 1 draft pick was allegedly involved in some sort of domestic thing. I don't know if you read the headline just recently.
We've talked about it on the podcast. They get a lot of those folks who are strongly allegedly involved with domestic violence at the Cowboys, it seems.
Yeah, how come Gary doesn't go over to a team with actual good citizens on it?
Well, because he still thinks that Roger Staubach plays for the Cowboys. So he's kind of got like a boyhood hero worship of Roger Staubach. So maybe that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys. Well, let me ask you guys this before we move on from the NFL. We're gonna do a picks, a Twitter pick. We're gonna pick 5 games each week, and you tweet out to some folks. Hey, what are your picks for the week? Do you guys want to be in our little pick club? Or I don't know what to call it. League. Mr. Bishop, what do I call it?
I like Little Pick Club.
Okay, Little Pick Club. Just the raging NFL fan that I am. We're gonna call it My Fantasy Wife's Little Pick Club.
And then the trophy can be a trophy, but on top is just the teeniest little hair pick you've ever seen. Yeah.
Okay, that'll be. So what we'll do is we'll tweet out each week the 5 games you need to pick a winner from, and then each of you tweet us back. And then at the end, somebody gets something silly.
Oh, that sounds great.
Does this last? He's hiding the mic again. Does this last the whole season?
I think it's supposed to last the whole season. Yeah, or until we get bored. Sometimes that happens, but probably the whole season.
That would require 17 weeks of focus.
Yeah.
Well, you're not picking. It's not a fantasy league. It's just picking which team is going to win in 5 games.
I've got a lot of focus for most things. I mean, when I played my 1 year of fantasy football, I got to the Super Bowl, and I because I had the real good strategy of picking the kicker first, because you got to figure.
I did that.
You've done that? Because sometimes the kicker has to make all the points on every game.
Right.
No.
It's underappreciated.
It is. So, or he is, or yeah.
No, it's almost always a he.
Yeah, you're right.
So
I'm gonna just FYI, I'm gonna text Drew a picture of my dog because he looks kind of sad.
oh,
And I know that doesn't have to do with football, but just in case.
well, just
But,
send that to us and we'll tweet it out too, because
Okay.
we want to be
Okay,
associated
cool.
with a sad dog.
Okay.
It's our podcast, sports comedy and sad pets. So, guys, we have a really silly thing, and this might take we might get bored with this in about 1 minute. But Joe Perot, who's a comedian out of Raleigh who contributes to the podcast now and again, was suggesting that maybe we should chat about what athletes' endorsement doesn't have to even be this presidential election. You know, it could be like a election for dog catcher. But what athlete's endorsement, living or dead athlete's endorsement, or sports figure, could be a coach or an owner, might sway your vote in an election?
I know the answer for me, but I'll let Tim go first. Yeah.
I have a philosophy for all elections from the presidential election to the lowest municipal election,
Right.
and that is whatever Bobby Knight says.
Really,
I
Bobby
do.
Knight. And he's a little bit of a hothead from what I've read in the world. Why Bobby Knight?
He's a huge Trump guy, and I don't know if you picked up on it, but I'm also a huge Trump guy.
Oh, are
Oh
you?
my God.
What are your three favorite things about Trump? I think we'd all like to hear that.
I'm joking, Blair.
I
hate
know.
No, I just Bobby Knight's the only. You know how they had Scott Baio at the convention, you know? Like that was as good as they could.
Oh,
do.
was he there?
And,
I didn't even hear about him being there. Oh,
yeah, they had. Was it Antonio Sabato Jr.?
Yes.
And they had him and Scott Baio.
You're yelling into
That
the
was-
speakerphone.
That was how. And Bobby Knight was the one person from the sports community that endorsed Mr. Trump.
His
so
big
I
get.
thought that was something.
what about you, Mary?
Jesse Ventura can sway my vote any day.
Is that for real? Because he's on our list of people we thought of. Because Minnesota, you spent a lot of time there. Is that for real?
He's a great speaker. Yeah.
So that's it. That's all you need. Like Hitler, great speaker. He could be governor of Minnesota, no problem. Mussolini, excellent speaker.
Yeah. He's totally for the people, even though he makes honest mistakes that hurt us eventually in the education system. but he always means well to help the common person. But I saw him speak at a Ralph Nader convention. Oh God, I don't know, about at least 8 years ago, and he was great. And I don't know, like I'm gonna start throwing my votes away. That's kind of what I've decided. I mean, like I'm just gonna vote for who I like, and just keep hoping to get preferential voting because we're just it's just a. What is it? It's just a joke. It's a real joke, this election this year, and it's shameful that people even pay attention to it. It's just entertainment, and so I want to vote for who I like versus throwing my vote away. You know, I mean, I guess that is throwing your vote away, is voting for who you like.
Mary,
It's not real.
And our dog is sad too. How's that? for your podcast?
This is
I
fun.
haven't slept for a while either.
Go ahead, Mr. Bishop. Mr. Bishop has a thought.
Now I have a real question, Mary. Are you disappointed that Jesse Ventura and Howard Stern did not run together? Like 2 years ago, Jesse Ventura wanted Howard Stern to be his running mate for the president. Would you have voted for Jesse Ventura in a Howard Stern ballot?
No, I would have voted for Jesse Ventura and Jim Webb or else Elizabeth Warren. But
Okay.
not Howard Stern, even though he's a
That
great
Warren
speaker.
Ventura ticket. Is
I'm voting for. I'm voting for whatever Brett Favre writes on his penis tweets, like anything like that. I think if Brett Favre tweets out like a presidential candidate on a penis, I will vote for that.
You're in.
I'm
You're in.
I'm for that.
What about you, Drew?
I don't care about any of it.
Oh, come on. I was thinking about, I wrote a lot of things down. I like that Michaela Maroney, who from 2012 Olympics team, who made that snide face when she came in second. I think she would be a real go-getter.
Who is
And what's that, Drew?
who's Charles Barkley throwing his vote?
Well, I was going to
behind?
say Charles Barkley. He's got a lot of opinions.
Whoever
about
he's
things.
voting for, I'm voting for the opposite.
I would also Wills Maxwell, one of our contributors. He suggested Muhammad Ali. As an idea, but especially now that he's passed away, he thinks he would have a lot of extra wisdom now. And
From beyond the grave.
from
he's gonna
beyond the
pick-
grave, yeah, exactly. And what was my other thought? Who was the man who is the coach? Oh, Phil Jackson, the coach.
Yeah, no one cares what Phil has to say.
No, he's a Buddhist and he wins
No
stuff, but
one
he's
cares.
competitive, but he keeps it cool. And
I
calm
forgot
when
he was
has-
in the league still. Whatever.
He's out there. And he is.
Hey,
in the
you
league.
gotta. I think that Aaron Rodgers, and I'm being serious, is pretty politically sensitive and has some good opinions. When our governor, or Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, was crushing a lot of the unions in Wisconsin in the early part of his governorship, Aaron Rodgers and Charles Woodson, two future NFL Hall of Famers and Green Bay Packers. Did I say that? I did.
I believe Charles Woodson will always be a Raider.
They were outspoken about being in the union, and they kind of came to the support of the teachers and the other service unions that Walker was attacking. So, in sincerity, I would have to say that Aaron Rodgers would be someone I would certainly listen to their opinion.
All right. Well, we got two others of note. First of all, we got a couple of random, not related tweets from folks out there in the Twitterverse. Is that what the kids call it? For Bruce Lee, just because he's a kick-ass, I guess. And Gary was a big fan of having Coach K. He listened to Coach K. Look, I'm just telling you what Gary said.
It's weird. That's a lot. That's a lot of coaches from the Army team. Actually, Coach K actually coached
Gary
for Army, and so did Bobby Knight.
Yeah.
They're both coaches for
Army.
Army.
Who did Coach K learn from? Bobby Knight.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
They both can shove their own opinions up their ass.
Oh my God! I thought you didn't care about any of this, Drew. You don't want to
I
Coach
care
K.
about what they care about. Yeah.
Fair
Can I
enough.
tell you a story about Coach K?
Sure.
As long as it's a terrible story.
When Obama first got in the presidency, and he was filling out I think it was his first Final Four bracket. And, I thought, oh, this is so cool. Our president's a huge basketball fan, and I think he picked North Carolina maybe to win.
And I believe he was right.
Yeah, and Coach K made some remark about, well, maybe the president should stick to running our country and worry less about college basketball.
Yeah,
and
see?
I thought it was. You remember that?
Yeah, see, Coach K's a dick.
Well,
Yeah,
wow.
What a dickhead.
Gary's going to have to listen to this podcast
Tim,
and just be angry about things.
Tim, I met you at the comedy festival, and I didn't think I could like you more than I did, but I do. I do now.
All right, guys.
I just tweeted my fantasy wife a picture of my dingo.
That's the dog, right? That's
I was gonna tweet a picture of the dog too.
right.
Boom.
Oh.
Lou's on it. He's getting us his
We're
picture.
here all week. So, guys, we have just a few more minutes, and we've got. I know we'll have to do it again. We'll definitely do it again during football season and see how Tim's prediction is shaping up. But we have, because it's fun, because it's my fantasy wife, right? And I usually do this with my actual husband and not my sub-hub. But you guys are also a married couple that works together in comedy. That's a little joke, because Gary and I don't get paid for this. But so we thought it'd be fun to look for, other power couples in sports and see.
Sure.
We've each filled out a bracket here. and you guys are kind of like the judges. So using whatever criteria, whether it's if what couple you think would make the better athlete offspring, or which couple is better known, or which couple is more, net worth is more, whatever criteria you want to use. We're going to go around and tell you who we picked in our brackets, and then you tell us who you think should move on to the next round. All right?
Okay. Sounds great.
All right. The first round one here, we got Steffi Graf and Andre Agassi. And somebody's got my little cheat sheet over there. And then the other is Ali. I got it, guys. Thanks. And the other is Layla Ali and Curtis Conway. And I hadn't heard of Curtis Conway, but I guess he used to play for the Bears and the Chargers and the Jets. A lot of people. He had 3,000-yard seasons. And Layla Ali, obviously, she's retired now, but she was a early female boxer, 24-0. This is just me, and I'm a girl of the 80s and 90s, but I think because they're both tennis players, and they could probably make just an amazing tennis kids, and they were both so dominant in their sports.
Okay.
I'm going to have to say...
Let them make their votes.
No, we're allowed to make arguments here.
Okay, all right,
Jesus
all right.
Christ. Gary's not here, so you're stepped up to give me a hard time.
Come on,
Yes.
we
It was a text. He just
we
gave
know
it to
how
me.
this
Sorry.
goes. Blair talks. We listen.
No,
My bad,
Blair
my
talks.
bad.
I
My
wish
bad.
that were true. No, I'm going to say it's got to be Graf Agassi. What about you, Lou?
I went with Graf Agassi as well.
I did too.
What about you, Mr. Bishop?
I went Graf Agassi as well.
Okay.
Or Agassi.
Okay.
That's who I think.
What's
Yeah,
that?
I think this is going to be unanimous, because when you look at the list of contestants that you sent, Steffi Graf and the Agassi pairing just jumps off the page. You're looking at 30 Grand Slams between the two of them, and you're looking at 478 weeks combined at number one in the tennis rankings. And I like Layla Ali because she only has 3 letters in her name.
Right.
But
Okay.
but I don't think anybody, even like Nomar Garcia Parra, like even he's not a Hall of Famer or.
Well, hold on to them. You're getting ahead of us here.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Forget. Edit that part out.
So, yeah, we don't edit out unless you say something that can get you fired or divorced. So, that's our policy here at My Fantasy Wife Podcast. So we're gonna say Graf and Agassi move ahead in that round then. All right. And then next we have Christy Yamaguchi and Brett Hedigan. Yamaguchi is the former Olympic gold medalist in figure skating, and Brett is some kind of he's a hockey player, man. He played on 2 U.S. teams.
Technical term.
Yep,
And-
that shows good. That shows him on the bracket.
but here's the
Watching a lot of hockey, huh?
and then the NHL. But wait a second, here's the adorable part, guys. They met at the '92 Olympic Games. Aww.
Of course they did. Because
Was that the year that what's her name got clubbed in the knee? Nancy Kerrigan?
94.
No, that's 92. They met.
All right.
I don't know. We'll have to look that up.
92?
I bet they met.
No, 94 was the Winter Olympics. 96 was the Summer Games.
Well, it said 92 on the interweb.
Oh.
Maybe they were just there.
Well, it was off season.
Maybe they were just there.
The Olympics is known to be just one giant orgy anyway, so
That's right, Mr. Bishop.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they can't do drugs. They just have to have the sex.
right.
And then I have to say this next part really quietly because Mr. Bishop's wife hates one of these people.
She's gone.
Okay, thank God.
She
She's
left me.
terrifying. Mia Hamm, soccer player extraordinaire, of course, and Nomar Garcia Parra, who was Rookie of the Year.
Way to use hooked on phonics there,
And
Blair. That
he,
was
well,
good.
thank you. I practiced that. And he was in all-star teams, but then I guess something happened
fell
where
apart.
he said things that people didn't like about
He
the
was a
Red
baseball
Sox.
player, man.
Yes, he was a baseball player, man. So anyway, I'm going to pick Yamaguchi and Hedigan. What about you, Mr. Morgante?
No.
I'm gonna go Ham Garcia Parra because they're gonna make some pretty kids.
All
and
right.
Ann Ham's arguably the greatest women's soccer player of all time.
Okay, what about you, Mr. Bishop?
I'm just going to say that I pleasured myself way more to Christy Amaguchi when I was a young man than I ever would have to Mia Hamm. So
Okay.
I am going to go Yamaguchi.
Okay. Some pretty strong arguments there on both sides. I'm a little upset Mr. Bishop is on my side this time for those reasons. What do you guys, Tim, Mary, who do you think should move ahead in that round?
I like the story of Yamaguchi and Hennigan because it reminds me of that Will Ferrell movie, Blades of Glory.
Sure. And they're both skaters, so the kids can focus on the skating.
No one cares about
Yeah.
skaters.
What about you, Tim?
You know. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go with Mia Hamm and Nomar Garcia.
Thank
All right.
Tim.
Well, now we can't have them both advance. You guys are going to have to agree on one couple.
Oh, I thought we were separate in that. Okay, then I'll go with Mia Hamm and Nomar Garcia.
Are you willing to acquiesce to that, Mary?
Come back. No, I won't go to his side because.
Okay. Well, we're at a stalemate.
They're
This is
gonna lose the next round anyway.
This is a first. This is a first. We're gonna have to tape. Okay. No more couples as guests.
Skating is so dangerous.
Skating is so dangerous.
Exactly. Skating sucks.
Yeah.
You know what? I never considered that, so I think that I'm gonna go with because I didn't realize ice skating was so dangerous. I'm gonna go with her.
Yamaguchi,
you're done.
good choice.
There goes lose bracket.
Oh, that busted loose bracket. Okay, the next two couples in the first round, we're getting through this, is Sonia Richards-Ross and Aaron Ross. She is a how many times sprinter? She has 4 Olympic gold medals as a sprinter. And Aaron Ross was a first-round draft pick by the Giants, and he was a high school sprinter, and he's been won 2 Super Bowl rings. And then Cami Granado and Ray Ferraro. She was the captain of the women's hockey team, and she was asked to try out for the Islanders, and she is really great at hockey. And then he was in the NHL, and I'll just go ahead and say that I picked the Rosses mostly because we already had ice skating people on my bracket, so I picked the Rosses. Who about you, Lou?
I picked the Rosses.
I also picked the Rosses.
I only picked them because they have the same last name.
Okay.
I went with Ross also, but because they will make the superior athlete out of the two couples there.
Yeah.
If you're fast and you can run really fast, that's
You do
being
anything.
fast. You can play pretty much any sport. He played NFL. He was a football player, man. So that's where I'm going.
All right, Mary and Tim, which of those two couples gets to advance?
Just because of the level of competition there is at the 400-meter dash and just that running, I gotta say the Rosses too. It's so hard.
Will you acquiesce to that, Tim?
No, I'm gonna.
Tim, let me explain to you how this works.
I think we've talked it over, and we both agree with the Rosses.
Okay.
Because Aaron Ross won 2 Super Bowls, and that has to count for something. So I'm going to go with the Rosses.
All right, and now this is our last, and then we'll go to the speed round. This is our last couple in the first round. We got Gabrielle Reese and Laird Hamilton. He's the surfer man. She's the volleyball. She was dominant for many years in the 90s. And then we have Nadia Comaneci and Bart Connor. Nadia Comaneci and Bart Connor are both iconic in their sport of gymnastics. Nadia Comaneci, Drew shaking his head, was a childhood idol of mine. And they got to have some really bendy babies. That's my choice. What about you, Mr. Morgante?
Just as Bishop used to watch Yamaguchi when he was in his prepubescent years, I would watch Gabrielle Reese. So I'm going to go with Reese Hamilton.
You see, I hadn't taken that into account. Go ahead, Drew.
I went Reese Hamilton as well.
What about you, Mr. Bishop?
I went Connor.
Connor Comaneci. What about you, Tim and Mary?
Well,
we're still discussing.
You have some music you can play while we discuss this?
Hold on a second.
Sure.
By all means. She's walk. You know, I think that's a pro Gabrielle Reese song. I'm not going to sing that anymore because it's on a beach.
Well, the
problem is that Comaneci, when she was born, as soon as she was able to walk, she had to start training, you know.
So what?
And Bart is gay and he's married.
Okay, well, those are a lot of interesting facts.
It's a
I'm
hard
not.
life for both of them.
I'm not sure what that means for our bracket, though.
I mean,
It's
Hamilton's
just a harder life.
innovated surfing.
Are you thinking that's Bruce Jenner?
No, have you ever seen any male gymnasts?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Jeez. Well, okay. Tim wants to vote for Gabriel Reese.
I bet he does.
Laird Hamilton. Yeah, and I guess Laird Hamilton could have got eaten by a shark, so that's maybe something. But I think that I really like Komanichi in them, so let's let Tim decide because I can't.
Okay,
Well, you know what? She did get the perfect 10 at the Olympics.
yeah, it was kind of a big deal.
And I'm old enough to realize how big a deal that was. And wasn't her coach, who's her legendary coach?
Coach.
Yeah,
the big teddy bear guy.
yeah. Not Lech Walesa. He was the Polish Union guy.
The guy with the mustache.
Yeah, we'll fact check
Bella
that for next.
Caroli.
Yeah, Bella Caroli.
Yeah, we're gonna go with Nadia Comaneci. As much as I love Laird Hamilton and his
Barely clad wife.
yeah, this is the closest one, but we're gonna go with
All right.
Mark Conner.
All right, this
Yeah.
is the speed round, guys. This is the speed round.
Oh
You
my
got to
gosh.
pick quick. We
Oh
got
gosh.
Steffi Graf versus and Agassi versus Yamaguchi and Hedigan.
Graf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all got that. And then we have the Ross.
Did we lose? Did
The
we go
Ross,
lose?
except for Mr. Morgante, who's crumpling papers. And then we have Ross versus Kumanichi Connor.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
Komanichi.
Yeah, let's go Comaneci.
Okay.
All right, and then for all the marbles, the most powerful, whatever that means to you, athlete couple for the finals: Graf Agassi versus Kumanich Connor.
We'll go with Graf and Agassi.
All right,
Yeah.
I had that too. What'd
I
you have?
did too. I won.
What'd you have, Mr. Bishop?
Oh, I didn't. I said Ross. The Ross couple was all the way. But
What'd you have, Mr. Morgante?
I had Ham Garcia Parra the whole way.
What about you?
I had Graf and Agassi.
I did too, but I had a perfect bracket, which I never
I
have.
did not have a perfect bracket.
All right. Hey, guys.
Dingo votes for Nadia Comaneci.
Well, Dingo ate their baby, so he doesn't count for anything. Okay, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much to Mary Mack and Tim Harms. A big round of applause here in the studio. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us. And we will we'll be doing the pick game, at least with Tim. Clearly, Mary's not that into it. But we'll be doing the pick game and follow up with you like middle of the NFL season and see how those Packers are doing.
Yeah. And do you want my address to mail me the pick winning prize?
Yeah,
Right
you know
now,
what?
or-
I'll message you for that. I'll go ahead and message you for that.
Hey, Blair, just so you know, I'm running a service. If people are having problems sleeping, what I do is I rent him out. And
Really?
he comes and stands next to your bed at night and tells you about his fantasy football team.
That's kind of how this podcast started. All right, guys,
Yeah.
we love you. Thank you so much. We had such a good
Thank you, guys.
time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Bye. All right. Well, that was fun. All right. Well, audience, join us next week. We'll have our special guest comedian Sumac Tolgakar join us. That'll wrap us up. A special thanks to contributing writers Joe Perot and Wills Maxwell. To download all the episodes and extras, subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Go to myfantasywife.com and follow us on social media. Thank you, Mr. Bishop, for taking us out with the jazz trumpet stylings of Mr. Al Hurt.